I was the first class that had a Dr. Zemjamis, I think you pronounce it, and he'd come from Sweden, and he taught us how to diagnose pregnancies early. That he was the first person that came in and taught this in vet school. And I was terribly interested in this, so he knew that, and so he would, every time they went out to, they did this diagnosing on various, actually the prisons had dairy herds, and different dairy herds like this, so he had me go along all the time, so I got a lot of experience in diagnosing pregnancy, early pregnancies. And you could get down to a very early age on them, and it was, when I started practice, I did this, but I didn't realize the other vets weren't familiar with this, but I couldn't imagine, all of a sudden I'm getting all kinds of calls for me to come and diagnose pregnancies. And well, the second year I had 500 dairy clients. Well, you can't imagine what happened with 500 dairy clients, and no matter, I worked an awful lot of hours. At 5 o'clock the phone hours rang, and at 10:30 when Cedric Adams went off, people would go out and check their cattle, their barns, and the phone would pretty much always ring at 10:30. So you can imagine how much sleep I got in there, 5-6 hours a night for years. It went that way. But it was really adventure, because you saw so many different things. Mm-hmm. And I was prone to do surgeries. Sitting behind a sow trying to extract the pigs, and you're never sure if they're done or not. Finally, I just quit trying to pull the pigs. I just carried my surgery kit in and did cesareans. Okay. And so I ended up doing lots of cesareans, and most of them turned out well, but every once in a while you get one that would die, and I'd go and post it, and you could see no evidence of that, no bleeding or nothing, and you kind of couldn't figure out why they died until I was at a veterinary meeting, and I'm telling this to a neighbor veterinarian. I was over in Wisconsin, and it's veterinarian from Wisconsin, actually. I would tell him my problem, and he said, well, don't you know that pigs ought to transfuse? You can get blood, give them blood just in the abdomen, and you can treat them for low blood by just treating it, you don't have to put it in a vein. And he said, what's happening to you is when you're operating and you're going through the side there's a lot of fat, and you're pushing fat molecules into the abdomen, and they're absorbing those and having strokes. You know, I was just terribly excited. I went home and figured out where I could cut without having to just above the outer line and do it longitudinally, and where I could get in without creating much fat, and then the problem was solved. That's just one of the great adventures.
Wow. That's why we share information with each other, right?
But much of the information came from individuals that I talked to about things at meetings. It was, back then it was that so many things that were going on that wasn't taught. Mm-hmm. You know, that you talk to what works for you, you know, and that this is where much of my education come from. And I could share some things too, you know. Mm-hmm.